Caroline, I invited you to speak to me today about your PR for beginners because you've got this fabulous toolkit that helps people just to look at the first steps they need to take. And it would just really help me and a lot of the people that I work with just to bring that to life in a new way. So, first off, what is PR to you? Because I think that's a really confusing thing for many people.
Yeah, it is for a lot of people. How I look at it, and it's for the purpose of most people, PR is part storytelling, part opinion sharing. Now, you can bring in like talking about events and products, but most people who I work with, it's about getting into the media and talking about their stories or their opinions. I do help people go into media to talk about their books, for example, but it's still the stories around the books and the opinions of the issues around the books. It's not just purely focused on the actual book. There are obviously people who have products and events that they do PR purely on that, and that's still PR. But so essentially, at the heart of it, PR is raising awareness on a deeper level. It's raising awareness of your brand and who you are as a person. So it's brand awareness, and it's putting you in front of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people when you go into the media. So it's brand awareness, but then I would say if somebody asked me, mostly it's part storytelling, part opinion sharing.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful, Carrie. Thank you. Um, so you just said it, why people might want to be in the media, why people might want to share their story is to get in front of a big range, an enormous audience.
An enormous audience. And I think people forget because I've had people say this to me a few times like, yeah, but Karen, why would I want to go into the Daily Mail or onto the BBC radio or something? The thing is, it's like you want to go on it, first of all, so brand awareness, which will boost your authority. So people who are considering working with you are more likely to, it still stands now, even in 2026, I'm sure and beyond. It's a credibility clue if you go onto a radio station, a national radio station, or you're in the media. It shows people that you're a credible expert. It boosts your authority. It's an authority builder. And it's something that, because people forget this, they're like, oh, well, I'll go on BBC Radio or something, and then it's one and done. It's not. You can leverage that experience forever. You can use, so it's kind of like it's an investment of your time and energy and money to do it. And whether you hire somebody like me or you do it yourself, you're still, investing. But then you can get the ROI forever from it. You can use that media logo forever. So it's a very good ROI, really. But essentially, you're first of all you're going it to get in front of more people. So it's a positioning tool which boosts your authority, boosts your credibility, and then you can leverage it for infinite ROI, is what I say to people.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really helpful, Carrie. Um, and you just mentioned about investment. So I know personally that I have in the past invested in working with you as well as previous works, working with different PRs, and it's been hugely beneficial to have an expert to share my story with journalists and get the story out wider into different places that I would never have considered. So I think there's something about, a PR's expertise and contacts that is something that um, individuals, businesses, charities, organizations won't necessarily do themselves. But I also know that huge financial investment to do that. So I know, the toolkit, Caroline, is very much about helping people to start taking steps to do things for themselves. But that still requires investment, because that's a time investment to take those first steps. So what would you say to growing businesses, growing charities, as almost like the foundation steps? Yeah, the foundation steps, because we're talking beginners PR here.
Yeah, well, I mean, like with anything, when you're preparing, even to, bake a cake, you need to make sure that you've got the ingredients. So the preparation is something that I see that people forget. They see a media opportunity, they put themselves forward. Let's say they get it, but you still want to, because you only have one chance at a first impression, don't you? And it's not that people don't evolve, but if you can, you want to have the foundations in place. So you want to be clear why you want to go into the press, which sounds really basic, but people forget this. It's not, yes, you want to raise the profile of your organization or your business or your charity, but like, why really exactly? Is it an impact thing? Is it an income thing? Is it that you want to stand out in the market more compared to other charities? You want to become a national global leader in this particular field of, the kind of charity. You want to be known in your industry for what you do. I think having a bit more clarity, and it could be all of those things, but I think having that depth and breadth of clarity really helps you to begin with, to form the foundational pieces. Because I don't think it's good to have you want it to be joined up thinking. You don't just want to have PR for the sake of it. You want to have an aligned strategy. And so the strategy would be, first of all, get clear on why you want to go in the press. Then the second part would be like, where do you want to go in the press? So So this is where, this is why it costs. It's a financial investment for somebody like me to kind of go, well, actually, we dive deep into the why and then put together a strategy that would align with that. But if you're doing it on your own, then you just want to be clear on like where. So if let's just say you wanted to be known as the leading charity in the UK for stress awareness, then I would recommend that you look at what other charities who are your kind of so-called competitors, where are they in the press? And then that's the quickest way, then put together a press list of like who to target and why. Because you need to know where you want to go if you're going to be successful with this recipe. And then you need to, if you haven't already, have a media page. A media page is something really, even if you're beginning this, you need to have, even if it's hidden to start with, and you need to have certain things on that media page. So how to contact the person who's going to be your media representative. And because we live in a very WhatsApp world, I would put the WhatsApp number and name of that person, as well as email, how they can be contacted. Journalists are very time pressed, so if they have your WhatsApp details, they could just send you a quick WhatsApp message. I would put that, and I put an email as well. I would talk about like what you want to talk about. So you could put like, if you haven't been in the press yet, you could just put like a few quotes about like, people are so stressed because they're addicted to tech, or just put a few like bullet points about opinions that you have or themes that you can talk about. If you haven't got press coverage, you have already got press coverage, then put the logos there or link the articles so that they can see that, they've got something, we can build on it, they're a safer bet. Because you have to understand from the media perspective, especially at the start, they're making a millisecond judgment as to whether you're a safe bet to trust, because they have got to look good to their editors and producers. And that's ultimately, you've got to really remember this. So if they say bet on you and said, I'm going to put you forward, this particular charity forward for something, and then you fluff it up, they're not going to come back to you and go, because you've got to give them what they want and need. You've got to say, let's just say they were going to interview on the phone about like how people can improve their quality of their sleep at night, and you were like a stress charity, but then you talked about something totally different. So you tried to say, oh, we're running this event in October, and this is why people need to come, and you totally changed the tack. You flipped the agenda. That's not going to go down with the journalists. You're not going to get they're not going to get the feature. So you've got to stick to their plan and the plan that you agreed on, which is why it's really good on your media page to be really clear on like what you can comment on, what topics. And it could be a range of topics. You could talk about, like, we're going on the stress theme, like mental health. You could talk about like stress at work, how stress impacts relationships, how stress impacts health, how stress impacts finances. And then underneath each of these themes, you could perhaps put a little quote. You need to have the other thing you need. So you need contact details, you need to have themes, you need to have a short little bio, like a 20-word bio about your charity. And then ideally, it could be a 50 or 100-word longer bio. So a short bio and then a longer bio, because they might just pull the short bio in for an article that you're quoted in, but something that you actually wrote on behalf of the charity or as the charity, you'd have a longer bio, because they'll be able to include much more, especially in the B2B or trade press. They usually allow a lot more space because they've got it. The mainstream media haven't got as much space for you to write. So they might even just put like stress charity, and maybe put a web link, because they haven't got many column inches. The other thing you need some photographs, professional photographs. And obviously, as a charity, you might, if you're going to have a designated person who's going to go to the media, they're the person who has the email address and the WhatsApp address, unless it's the assistant. But as long as or team member, if it was like, say, the director was the spokesperson, then make sure that you have the photos of the directors. You have downloadable link to a Dropbox or something for the photo. But if that director is so busy, which is understandable, that they can't be reached all the time, then make sure it's clear in the contact details that this is so and so, this is the director's assistant. Make sure it's clear that, and make sure that that person monitors the email or monitors the WhatsApp, and they can directly communicate with the director, because journalists haven't got much time to spare, and they don't want to be faffing around trying to get hold of people that are not going to respond. That's what I would say is really key in the foundational pieces. And then, like with anything, like with any web or digital presence, it's evolving. So as you gather more media coverage on your media page, you just change it, you just add to it, it will evolve. Photos will get updated, media coverage will be updated, and just kind of changes. And contact details are going to be updated. Just make sure that it's all updated. The other thing you want to do is just make sure that across your social media, it's all kind of singing on the same hymn sheet. So if you're saying that the assistant director is responsible for PR, make sure, like in your Instagram account, you put like, for press, contact this email. You might not be able to fit everything in, like on your website. You might just only be able to put like email, but make sure where you can, it says who the media need to contact, on your X or your TikTok or your Instagram or your LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever it is. Make sure there's like contact details that are aligned, and it's not like totally different on each one, because these kind of impressions really matter.
Well, that's really helpful. So first off, why do we want to go in the media? What's our strategy, as it were? What's the reason for doing that? Because it's an investment, it's a time investment.
Yeah.
Going backwards and forwards between journalist questions and setting up interviews for the radio, and if you're fortunate enough to get it on the TV, it can take time, and it can be bumped to the following day because a big news story is broken. And I've been there myself with all of those things.
Yeah.
But it takes time. It takes time, and it takes time out of a busy schedule already. So there's got to be an element of commitment to putting yourself forward for those things, but on the understanding that actually the rewards are huge in the credibility and raising your the expertise of you and your organization.
100%. And I think a lot of people say to me, I want it now, Cara, I want the results now. And I kind of say that like PR isn't a quick fix, although it can be, because it kind of depends on everything you've got in place. So like how is so, you see some people go in the press and they whether it's TV, radio, or wherever, and they suddenly have a flood of new inquiries or flood of new orders. Now, that usually happens when they've actually got a functioning business, a business that's already known for what they do. It's rarely a new business. Sometimes it can be, but I kind of it's unpredictable. It's not like you get in the mail, this is going to happen. It's not anything could happen. Which is why it's so appealing, is that anything and everything can happen. And it doesn't always happen instantly, although it can do. It doesn't always happen at once, although it can do. It might happen many months down the line or years later. But it's like you're setting the stage, aren't you? You're repositioning your charity and your organization as somebody who is, as one who is credible, authoritative. And it's that kind of level of credibility that all things will eventually add up and build together and give you what you're looking for. But the fact that it's non-linear I think it's exciting, but I understand it's scary to some people as well, because it is a time and money investment. But isn't everything that's worthwhile? That's what I kind of say to people.
Yeah.
In your most treasured relationships or connections, they probably started off with something small and then they gradually built up to something priceless. And that's kind of how I look at PR, really, because the reason that people get invited to certain things or win awards is because of their positioning in the market. And that comes from being in the media, as not just the media, but obviously all your other relations. But the media does absolutely supercharge that.
Yeah. So when you are first working with a client, because I think this is helpful, how do you know that they are not yet ready for you to be pitching them to opportunities?
For me, in my experience, most of the time, they're not yet ready when they're not a functioning business, or they've never had a functioning business. It could be a new iteration of a business, but they're not bringing in clients. Often is a red flag, because I just think they need to have. Doesn't need to be thousands of clients, but they need to have clients to kind of ground the business. Because I don't think it's good when people are desperate for something for them to come and do PR, because it's built on a house of cards. Really, I think it's better to have a regulated, functioning business or functioning organization or charity, and then you can build on it, because you know that PR is like not coming in and swooping and being your savior or as your rescue. It's something that's enhancing what you've already got. So that's how I look at it. So does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think it's one of the things. It's like, well, how do we know? We've got our photographs. We know why we want to go in the media. We've got a designated person that's going to be our spokesperson.
Yeah.
We've got all of those things in place, but are we really ready? Type of thing. So it's
Once
useful
you've
to
got all
have
those
that.
things, okay, once you've got all those things in place, let's say you have, I always say you're never going to be fully ready. You just got to go for it. No, nothing's ever perfect. You're never once you've got all those things in place, and you've got your why, and you know where you want to go. Nothing's ever perfect. You just got to go for it. You're going to build wings as you fly, kind of thing. You just got to go for it and just start pitching. Really, start getting the media coverage.
Yeah. So there's different ways of reaching out to journalists and opportunities. Can you just give us a quick rundown in this getting started?
Yeah. So one of the quickest ways is to sign up for a company called Press Plugs. It's like pressplugs.co.uk. And I feel it's like between 30 and 45 a month. You could do a free trial, a 7-day free trial. I need to double check this.
And
But
I've just found one. that is free for charities
Oh, well, there you go. Well, that's even better.
called .star.media, um,
Okay.
which you have to be a registered charity because it asks you that in the
Well, that's
sign up
even
thing,
better. Yeah, yeah.
which is being looks like it's been set up by journalists, particularly to get a broader
That's,
range
I
of
mean, that is a
of
good,
voices, which is perfect.
great. Yeah. So that, okay, that is even better, Tracey-Jane, for them to get started with. I would say press plugs could be the next stop because it's
Yeah,
kind of, it's going to, because the thing about charities or charitable organizations is that you don't just want to be um, just talking about your charity. You want to talk about the issues that represent your charity. So that's why, going somewhere like Press Plugs, they might have a call out for somebody to talk about stress management in like the B2B press, which might not be in the charity thing. And you could talk about that as this, you could have the spokesperson say this director could talk about how they manage their stress or not and how it led to them being involved in the charity. So you've got to look at things in quite a few different creative ways to see how you could fit in what you stand for and what your mission is, how you could put your strategy into these different media opportunities. So you could do that one. You could do press plugs. You could on X, you could put in the hashtag journo request. You could do that on LinkedIn. You could put journo request. You could also put source request as well. And these media opportunities will come up, which you can respond to for free. You don't have to hire anybody. It's just whoever you've got on your team or yourself to see the media opportunity and then respond to that. Those are the quickest ways to get started. The other thing I would say is like one of the second easiest ways to do is to contact your local to you BBC radio, whether local or regional radio, because the radio stations always have lots and lots of airtime they have to fill up. They often have mid-morning or late night discussions, and you could put yourself forward as an expert for your charity or spokesperson for your charity. If you ever need anybody to talk about stress management, let's go with a stress story. I'd love the opportunity to talk about it. Here's where you can find our charity details. We're local to you. These are a few comments that I might say. Here's an idea of the comments that I might say. And you'd send that to them and you'd ask them to add them to your list of experts. Because what they do at the BBC, they put you in a database with experts, contact details and everything. And then when a story comes up or a discussion comes up they would like you to take part in, then they will just ring you up. That is a really easy way. And it could happen quite a lot faster than you think. Radio moves fast, Radio they would talk about a breaking news story on the radio faster than anywhere.
Yeah.
Because they don't need to get a camera there, do they? Just talk into a microphone, then it's like TV and then it's newspaper. But it's radio first because they can just quickly go, oh, breaking news, we can talk about it right now. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And I think it's really helpful just to have a starting point. It's just like these are things that organizations, small businesses, charities can do straight away.
They 100% can do straight away at very low cost. Obviously, just the cost of the person who's doing that particular job. But I mean, that's a low cost way of getting into it. There is something called, just what is it called? Off the top of my head. Light bulb community. And there's this lady who's got this thing called a light bulb community. And it's like, it's no more than £10 a month. And you're in this Facebook community and the journalists post opportunities in there. But my thing would be that you have the caveat is that there's going to be about up to 3,000 other people in there who are jumping on the same thing. So it can be a bit like a dogfight. I'm not saying you can't find media opportunities, you 100% can, but it's a very time intensive thing because you have to be waiting. You're waiting in a community with other people because you're wanting to be there first. So it's kind of, you want to watch. So it could be, if you did do it, you'd be like, somebody's going to stay in that community and watch like on a Monday morning for like 2 hours or something. you broke it down like that. Otherwise, I actually think that money could be used elsewhere by
that doesn't feel a good use of my time.
No, that's what I mean. So I think that's not, it might be
Yeah,
better to go onto
but it's
Twitter.
available. It's
But
available.
I'm
That's
just saying
what.
it's an option, and I think
Yeah,
it's better to see how you can. I would personally, I would do the charity opportunity website that you said, or press plugs, or go onto X, or I would sign up for press
yeah,
plug. So it makes it easier. It's a better use of your resources.
yeah. No, that's really helpful. A lot of us have grown up in a world where we sent press releases with, news items to our local newspapers and wider uh, press press release containers. Is that still
Yeah,
worth our time?
it is, as long as it's sort of relevant. I mean, it's like when people say, like, I think organisations and charities can just think like, oh, we've had a change of CEO, this is a press release. It's not a press release worthy. It's not press release worthy. It's got to be something that's worthy. So are you like suddenly launching a community initiative about how to help stressed out elderly people or stressed out school children? Is it something or have you got a product coming out that's really interesting? Or a conference, or it's got to have something that's got a bit more depth to it than just we've just got new staff. Beyond the regional press, even the local press, and really like, and you've changed your CEO, or what? People aren't interested. That's kind of gone a bit, and also you want to be known for something a bit deeper than that, or like finally our CEO has decided we're going to recycle our coffee from now on in. That's an interesting thing, like we're going to recycle it, I don't know, wherever it is for this charity, or our charity has decided now that we are only using like glass. We're not using any more single-use plastic or something like that in the office. We don't use it in, we don't bring it in. We've all got these recyclable plastic containers now that we all allocated and named. Whatever, something that's like speaks to the wider issues that are going on. Our director has now got working with an AI engineer to create our own AI bot now to help us deal with all the charity. That's interesting. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be,
Yeah,
press releases are valuable, but they've got to be a bit interesting and not one dimensional. And it's helpful if they speak to other zeitgeisty issues. So obviously, zeitgeisty issues now are, like work-life balance, AI, the environment, cross-generational stuff, loneliness, mental health. You can bring in any of these issues, then whether it's local or national, regional media, they're more likely to be interested because they'll be like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Because they can then tag it into, or peg it in, they would talk about it in their terms. They can tag it into a story that's already, or, a thing that's already in the ether. That's
yeah,
when a press release works. But if it's not, you can't tag it into anything, then there's no point. You could also commission your own research. I mean, that usually costs, £2,000 to £3,000, and then you could lead the press by, we've done this research on stress for elderly people. We had this amount of participants. This is our finding. Then that's when you lead the news. But if you're not able to do that, then what you would do is just you would find some report or some data no longer than 6 months old, ideally, and then you would tag in your in your press release about that. You'd say like, I don't know, go back to the stress thing. We've based on this report and the Guardian about elderly people being overlooked for exercise classes, we've decided that as a charitable organisation, we've commissioned some local fitness professionals to do a series of classes just aimed at the elderly to get them more mobile, to stop them falling, because it's all connected. They're stressed out about falling, and then they're stressed because they're not fit, don't feel fit enough to attend an exercise class. So we've created these classes, and that would all tie in. So can you see
yeah,
that would be an interesting thing, because
yeah,
that's like being more relevant, being more interesting, being more newsworthy. So you have to, so if you've got a press release, you have to tie it into what's going on. And I say it like, if you can reading the room of your industry or the issues that you're connected with your organization and your charity, and then show the leadership. So then you can, when you can read the room, you can lead the room. But then so you've got to say, this is what's happening, but this is what we're doing about it. Then you're leading the room, and that shows that'll be interesting for the media in a press release.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think we've covered so much, Carrie, for basic
But
PR. I think we've gone beyond, but
I know it's very difficult.
but it is really hard because we've all got different experiences of
Yeah.
that media relations that we are coming to our jobs, our organizations, our work with. So I think that's been really, really helpful.
I mean, the final biggest tip that I would say, well, two really, that you need to do if you're a charity or a charitable organisation or a small business looking to go in the press is to consume the media. People forget this. They're like, oh, I haven't read a newspaper for years, and I'm like, and you want to go in the newspaper? You're having a giraffe. Even if you just buy a paper on a Sunday or a Saturday, do it regularly, so then you get a feel for the rhythm or listen to the news on the or you don't have to overly absorb it. I don't, and I work in the press, but I do read a few Sunday papers, and I do scan the press like on my phone a few times a week, so I know what's happening. You don't have to be in the trenches, know absolutely everything, but you need to have a feel for what's happening. So you need to do that. The second biggest tip I have is that what's really useful is to look at a charity or charitable organisation who's much further along than you, or they could be at the same level in terms of what years doing it, but they're just more visible in the press. And look at what they're doing. How do they do it? Are they using celebrities? How are they sowing the seed for particular initiatives that they're doing? How far ahead? Start to track what they do, and you'll start to see how much in advance some of these charities operate, because they're sowing the seed ahead. It's quite easy to see it with celebrities who casually mention something in the press. They're on this morning, and they casually mention, oh yeah, I'm doing this stuff for like mental health with MenCap for our October campaign, and they say that in July. They sow the seed, so that's them strategically doing it. MenCap will be like advising them, but
Yeah.
it's just like, look at how these different people start to track, and so that you can mimic it, so that you can do it yourself. So if you look at how they're doing things, then you can start to, because at the end of the day, you've got to remember the media need you. They need you 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So even if it seems that one particular charity or one particular organization or small business, they seem to be on the media all the time, it's only because they know about you, and they know about them and don't know about you. And then once they know about you, then that changes, doesn't it? And you put yourself forward, then you
Yeah.
can be in that position. But just a real shortcut is just to start tracking other people who are doing what you want to do, and it will really help you build a picture to what you can do and what you could do, and then you can just makes it easier instead of like feeling like you're stabbing in the dark. Because I think a lot of people, when they first go into the press, they feel like they're stabbing in the dark. So a really big shortcut is to look at people who you admire or charities you admire, and just retrace the steps and copy them. Why not?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom.
You're
I think
welcome.
that's I think that's really helpful for people, just getting started. So
I hope it was useful.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you.